Let's talk about something really interesting happening in the Indian states of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. For years, they've built this, industrial-scale pipeline for churning out engineers. But here's the thing, that pipeline is fundamentally broken. We're going to dive into why a system that was built for success is now actually creating a massive crisis.
Okay, let's just start with a number that should really stop you in your tracks. 90%. According to recent reports, nearly 90% of engineering graduates in this region are effectively unemployable. I mean, think about that. 9 out of every 10. That's a staggering figure that points to a really deep systemic problem.
And here's where it gets wild. Here's the paradox. While 90% of them can't find a relevant job, these two states produce over 200,000 engineering graduates every single year. It's an industrial scale of supply, but the skills they actually have, almost nobody wants them. So what on earth is going on here? Well, for decades, there's been this kind of unwritten social contract driving the whole system. The deal was pretty simple. You get an engineering degree, not just for the education, but because it was your golden ticket. It was your ticket to a visa and a new life in the West, usually the United States. The degree itself was almost secondary to its real job, which was to be a migration tool.
And if you want to see just how real that deal was, look at this. In 2023, a massive 56% of all U.S. student visas given to Indians went to students from just these two states. This just shows you how incredibly dependent the entire ecosystem became on this one single pathway. A pathway that, as you'll see, is starting to close.
And right here, this is where you can see the whole thing starting to fracture. In 2024, the F1 student visa rejection rate shot up to 41%. You've got global tech slowdowns, you've got tighter immigration policies, and suddenly the main escape valve for those 200,000 graduates a year is being squeezed shut. So if they can't leave, what happens to them at home? Well, when that dream of a visa just evaporates, these graduates are left completely stranded in the domestic job market. And this has created this vast, kind of hidden pool of underutilized talent that we can call the shadow workforce. Now, this term is really key. We're not just talking about unemployment in the traditional sense. No, these are engineers who, on paper, are employed. They're driving for ride-sharing apps, they're doing food delivery, or they're enrolled in these placeholder higher studies programs. So they have the degree, but they are completely disconnected from the profession they trained for. And the scale of this is just immense. We're talking about 250,000 engineers trapped in this kind of professional limbo. It's a colossal waste of human potential, right? And it's a completely failed return on investment for their education because they're not contributing to the tech economy at all. You see, the problem isn't the students. It's the system that produced them. And the crisis is most severe in what are known as Tier 3 colleges. These are the institutions that educate the vast majority of these graduates. And frankly, they are facing an existential threat. These colleges are caught in what you could call a triple threat. First, they're broke. They're financially insolvent. Second, they're under immense regulatory pressure to prove their value. And third, they're teaching a curriculum that is hopelessly out of date. It's a perfect storm, really.
To really get a handle on that financial pressure, just look at this number. Private colleges are owed a staggering 10,000 crore rupees in pending fee reimbursements from the government. Without that cash, they can't invest in modern labs, they can't train their faculty, they literally can't survive.
Okay, so the system is broken. We get it. But there is a solution. And it involves a really fundamental shift in thinking. We have to move the goalpost from just getting a degree to making a student truly ready for a specific high-demand job on day one. And the core mechanism for this big change is something called the Enterprise Finishing School, or EFS. You can think of it as a model that can be embedded right inside the existing colleges to provide this intensive, industry-focused layer of training that basically bypasses the outdated academic stuff. So let's break that down. The old model was all about teaching generic coding to get a degree that was really just a proxy for a visa. The new model, it's all about something called platform engineering. It focuses on making students ready for a specific role that leads directly to a high-value job right here at home. And the payoff here is real. I mean, instead of struggling with really complex algorithmic coding, students are trained on these high-demand platforms like ServiceNow or Salesforce. You know, the kind of roles where entry-level salaries can go from 5 to 12 lakhs per annum.
And for civil and mechanical engineers, pivoting to something called building information modeling, or BIM, opens up a whole lucrative freelance market. These are tangible, life-changing outcomes.
So we have a solution, which is great, but how do we actually make it happen? This isn't just about changing a curriculum in a few colleges. It's about re-engineering the incentives for the entire ecosystem. The EFS model works because it creates a win-win-win situation. For the college, it's basically a lifeline for their accreditation that also boosts their placement numbers. For the student, it's a direct path to a high-paying job. And for the industry, it's a ready-made pipeline of talent that's useful from day one. Everybody wins. And the roadmap to get there is actually pretty clear. First, you partner with the colleges and you position this as a rescue package for their accreditation. Second, you leverage government skilling programs like TASK in Telangana and APSSDC in Andhra Pradesh to help subsidize the costs. And finally, you tap into the corporate social responsibility funds from the big tech companies themselves because they desperately need this talent pool to grow.
So, what this all really comes down to is a choice. We can look at the situation and see a massive socioeconomic emergency. Or we can reframe it. What if this huge pool of underutilized engineers isn't actually a problem? What if it's an opportunity to build a globally competitive talent advantage right here in India?
Ultimately, that's the goal. By pivoting from this outdated, migration-focused model to one that's actually aligned with the real needs of the modern tech industry, we can transform an entire generation of unemployed youth who are currently seen as a liability into a high-value national asset. It's about re-engineering not just a curriculum, but the future of an entire region.